All of these teams, though, that were going after him are willing to give him a long-term deal.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. My name is Brian McKeon. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and create an account using code Locked on MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Stacy is not with me today. She is tending to some issues with her power, but I am with you to discuss a plentiful amount of baseball, of moves in the winter meetings, and everything the Yankees have done so far. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Like our videos and hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. On today's show, we've got lots of signings to go over. Boston got a major upgrade in their pitching rotation. The Yankees shored up their pen, but first, we got to get into the Kyle Tucker stuff because he's obviously the biggest and most important guy that is available right now, the biggest target the Yankees have, and the guy that they're most after. Now, their top contender for Kyle Tucker is the Chicago Cubs. They have a lot of motivation to go get him. They have a lot of pieces that can wind up getting him. So I think the Astros have a little bit more of a want to move him to the Cubs just because they'd rather keep him out of the Yankees and keep him out of the American League. But we'll see. There's a lot the Yankees can have to offer. First of all, let's get this straight. The Houston Astros are going to want to trade Kyle Tucker. They pretty much have no option at this point. They have let it become public knowledge that he is on the open market, that he is available. They have let it become public knowledge that they are not willing to give anybody an extension over 6 years. And because of all those reasons, we know that Kyle Tucker is one of those guys that's going to get, the 9-10-year deals, circa the area of $300 million. That's the kind of player that he is. He's a Juan Soto light, that I'd call him, right? He has great OPS, great on-base percentage, and overall, Gold Glover too. Overall, great player that, Juan Soto's got some defectiveness to his game that Kyle Tucker kind of doesn't have. Now, Juan Soto's a better overall player, but Kyle Tucker is still the Juan Soto light type player. And I don't think the Yankees would shy away from making a move, even if it's a one-year rental. Now, we'll talk about the player who is most involved in all the Yankees trade rumors, but I do want to discuss this because Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, has made it public that he is not willing to give out over 6-year deals, which I think is crazy. And we've talked about it. A lot of people out there had an issue with the Max Fried contract and the Yankees going to the 8th year for Max Fried. And I'll tell you why you really shouldn't have a problem with it, and you really shouldn't debate in your head whether it's the smart move or not. Do you ideally want to give a 30-year-old pitcher an 8-year contract, or 31 on opening day, an 8-year contract? No, of course not. That's not good business, I don't think. However, you have to look at what's on the fine print, right? All of these teams in all of baseball are giving out crazy contracts, and these players want contracts with length that'll take them into their late 30s, that'll keep them getting paid a lot of money into their late 30s. Now, if Max Fried declines by the age of 35, I'm sure he can potentially stay in Major League Baseball, but he's not going to stay in Major League Baseball, A, for that long, B, he's not going to get a long-term deal, and C, he's not going to get the money he wants. So this long-term deal allows Max Fried to get paid the big bucks later into his career when he's probably not as productive as he's been lately. All of these teams, though, that were going after him are willing to give him a long-term deal. They are. So you have to be willing to give out those bad contracts. And if you think the Yankees are giving out this deal with the intention of Max Fried pitching for them for 8 years, you're out of your mind. The Yankees are giving Max Fried this deal with the intention of him being great for them for the next 4 years, hopefully. And they know they're going to have to eat the rest of these contracts, the rest of the years of this deal. This is not their first rodeo. This is not the first time they've gone through one of these things. They've gone through it with many pitchers before where they've given out long-term deals, and the end of the deal, they've pretty much had to eat because the guy isn't effective as much. If you're not willing to sign these deals, if you're not willing to give out the years, you're simply not going to get these guys. Either that or you're going to be shopping in the bargain bin like the Mets have been doing to get pitchers on shorter-term deals. So, pick your poison. Do you want to have lesser value at the pitching market? Do you want to bring back a Luis Severino for $22 million a year on a 3-year deal? Or do you want to get one of the top pitchers available? Do you want to get the guy with the lowest ERA since 2020 on your team, in your rotation, or not? And the Red Sox were willing to go the 7th year. The Yankees moved into the 8th year, and that's what got the deal done. So, you have to be willing to make these kind of moves, and you have to be willing to go the extra years and eat the back end of these contracts in order to get these deals, in order to get these players. Otherwise, they're not going to sign. You're not going to get them. You're not going to ever be in contention. You're going to be one of those teams that's always got their name in the list, but never winds up working out. So for a Kyle Tucker trade and for what the Astros are willing to move. Now, I don't think ideally the Astros want to move him to the Yankees. It pretty much makes, at that point, makes the Yankees significantly better than Houston. Even though I think the Yankees already are, makes them significantly better than Houston. It shores up a major spot in the middle of the Yankee lineup. Does a lot for the Yankees, does a lot for Houston, especially because they'll probably get a big package back. Now, apparently, Houston is unwilling to discuss this trade if it doesn't involve Luis Gil, which I find very fascinating. Luis Gil was a Rookie of the Year last year, had a phenomenal season, got up to a slightly rocky start to the start of his career a few years ago, got hurt, came back, and was better than ever. The Yankees have upgraded and had kind of like a surplus at starting pitching right now. I don't think they should be that concerned with giving away Luis Gil. And I know what you're all thinking. He's the Rookie of the Year. How do you move on from him that quickly? And I don't think it's necessarily you're moving on from Luis Gil. You want to get rid of him. But at the end of the day, with these kind of trades, especially when you're paying a Yankee tax and Houston is a team that wants to, charge the Yankees as much as possible for their players, you're going to have to give to get. And Luis Gil is one of the top young commodities in all of baseball. He's got a lot of control left. He's got no money being paid to him. You're going to have to give up a lot of money and a lot of prospects and a lot of everything in order to get a player like Kyle Tucker, even if it's a 1-year rental. So I think it's worth it. Personally, I think it's a move you kind of have to make, especially where the Yankees lineup is. These kind of players don't come around that often. Their availability doesn't come around that often. And then you have to try and sign Kyle Tucker. He'll probably wind up hitting the free agent market. But here's why I think the Yankees would wind up doing this move and not having a problem with it. They tried this last year with Juan Soto. They did the exact same thing with Juan Soto. They brought him in. They traded Michael King, which I don't think they really wanted to do. But they moved on from a hot commodity in Michael King. They moved on from him. They got Juan Soto. They went 1 year. Juan Soto had a career year, helped him get to the World Series. They lost out on him. They moved on from him. Or he moved on from them, and you move on. But did the Yankees necessarily regret the Juan Soto trade? No. And did Brian Cashman was asked directly if he regretted that trade, and he also said no. So I don't think it would scare them that much, especially with the production they got out of Soto. I think this is the key thing. If Soto comes to the Yankees last year and winds up having an awful year, there's a really, really, really high possibility that the Yankees are a little more hesitant on making a move like this. The fact that he comes over is excellent. Is really good. They didn't get burned by the trade. Was King great for the Padres? Yes, but you got to give to get, and thank the Yankees for having the surplus of young talent. You got to give to get. You make the move. You get a player in here. I don't think it scares them as much to make a move like Kyle Tucker. So I support it. I'm with it. I'd love to see them be all over it. Be careful with the Cubs, though. Solid farm system. They're lurking, and they're trying to make moves. Maybe on the bargain bin, but they're definitely trying to make moves. So I'd be a little hesitant with them. Before we hit the break and move on to the next segment, lots to cover around all of baseball, but Yankees bring back Jonathan Loaisiga on a deal. It's a 1-year deal with a team option for 2026. The money is not out there yet. I don't think it's going to be that much of a hit. I wouldn't be that concerned with this deal. I know Loaisiga has been hurt the last couple of years, especially last year. He missed the whole year. Essentially, when he's healthy, he has some of the most electric stuff in all of baseball. We know that. And I wouldn't be as concerned about his health, and here's why. The Yankees monitored him all year. The Yankee doctors were a part of his rehab all year. So if anybody knows the health status most of Jonathan Loaisiga, it's the New York Yankees. They got him on the cheap on a 1-year deal because that's all they could really command because of the injuries. But I don't think it's crazy the deal they get out of him. They shore up the bullpen. It's probably for not a lot of money. I know the Mets were in on him too. But the Yankees had his medicals. The Yankees were tracking him all year. They know how healthy he is more than anybody. And I think it's one of those things where if the Yankees let him walk and didn't really compete for him in the free agent market, you would have probably guessed that he wasn't as healthy as he actually was. But hoping he can stay healthy, because if he can, he's a really, really valuable arm to keep in the back end of your bullpen. Those guys, we saw it last year. You see it in the playoffs. You see it all around. It means so much to have these guys on your team, to have bullpen depth. We overthink it so much every single year. And then lo and behold, towards the end of the year, towards the middle of the year, you wish you had more bullpen depth. And you're always trying to trade for bullpen depth come July, come August. So, this is a really big deal to bring a pitcher like this in. Doesn't get noticed very much, right? It's not a deal where it's going to come across your ticker and be a big deal. But in a big series in July or in a postseason series, it could mean a heck of a lot for the Yankees. It really could mean a heck of a lot for the Yankees. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on our videos and notification so that you know when all of our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from us, and you can text us questions, comments, and reactions to trades and signings, all that's going on right now. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, and breaking news, so you don't have to check social media. There's also a 14-day trial. Coming up, we're going to discuss the Nolan Arenado rumors out there, also some players the Yankees are linked to, and the Red Sox really, really upgrading their pitching rotation. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all available in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you can place all of your bets. NHL season's going, and the New York Rangers are a team that struggled a lot this year. Look to get them on the cheap the next couple of weeks. With them struggling the way they are, you can probably find some good value on Rangers lines that you normally wouldn't find. You can find all that and more on FanDuel.com. That's where you visit to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember that every Friday for us is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath the pinned comment in our videos Monday through Thursday. Or if you want, you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club to get top priority for Fan Mail Friday. That link is available in our description. All right, guys, we're back. And important to note the moves that were made around baseball. First, I want to go over the guys that the Yankees are still in on. The guys that you're not going to see moves happen every single day. And I think that's important to note. It's going to take a while. The winter meetings last for a bit. So these guys are discussing things constantly every single day. It's going to take a bit. It's not an everyday thing. You're not going to see moves made every single day. But the Red Sox came through and made an amazing move, a risky move, and a big-time move. They got Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox. Now, he's been one of the top pitchers in all of baseball over the last few years. His numbers are absurd. He's been great for the Chicago White Sox. He's kind of been buried with them just because of how, terrible and putrid they've been. But you can really bury an unbelievable pitcher on a great team. 2023 at a 3.55 ERA in 13 starts. Last year, 3.58 with a 107 whip. And the year before that, in 2021, he had a 2.82 ERA in 54 games. He's an unbelievable pitcher. He's one of the best in all of baseball. Now, who the Red Sox traded, because that is a big notion, right? Because you were wondering all year if the Yankees are trying to acquire him. A bunch of teams in baseball were trying to acquire him, and it was always talked about how the price was going to potentially be a little too big and the Yankees are going to get priced out of the market for Garrett Crochet. Well, turns out they were priced out by the Boston Red Sox. First of all, they acquire Kyle Teal, who is one of the top prospects in all of baseball. He's the third-ranked prospect in the Red Sox division, in the Red Sox farm system. You could probably consider him a second or first overall prospect from what I've heard. He is a catching prospect, but also it's the other things that they gave up too. Outfielder prospect Brandon Montgomery, infielder Chase Meadroth, and right-handed pitcher Wycombe Gonzalez. That is the Red Sox in order, 3rd, 4th, 11th, and 15th ranked prospects in their system. So we talk about all the time what guys you're comfortable the Yankees moving on from to get trades in, right? What guys are you willing to give up your Spencer Jones of the world? Are you willing to give up all these guys? And, the Red Sox were, but these are risky prices to pay. Now, the last time the Red Sox made a really big marquee trade with the Chicago White Sox, it's when they acquired Chris Sale. And if you remember, the big prospect that was moved in that trade was Yoan Moncada. And when Yoan Moncada was moved, it was a very big debate around baseball of, is this the right move? Because you're trading away what's thought to be a generational talent for a pitcher that'll really help you right now, but is it smart for the future? Well, that trade worked out beautifully for the Red Sox because Yoan Moncada, while he became a nice player in the major leagues, he certainly is not a career unbelievable major leaguer. You combine that with the fact that Chris Sale helped them win a World Series in 2018 and went on to have a really nice career with them, wound up working out for them. So I guess they're a little less scared and a little less hesitant to make that move. But this is a hefty price to pay, and we talked about it before when it came to the contracts. You're going to pay what other teams are also willing to pay, and you have to think there were similar offers to this that other teams were offering big prices to. The Red Sox came over the top and gave the biggest price possible, and that's the deal they took. So interesting to see what Crochet will do. But listen, with Brian Bello added to that staff along with Crochet, they're going to have a really, really good pitching staff next year. We've discussed too. They're also in on Corbin Burns. And the Red Sox last year had a really good pitching staff up until like late June, July, when they started to fall apart a little bit. They pitched really well. So it's going to be a really fascinating year in the American League East. The Red Sox are going to try and win games of pitching, which is going to be really fascinating. The same way the Yankees are going to try and win games, it looks like, too. They're still linked to Cody Bellinger, the Yankees. I think you're going to see them linked to him for a while. It doesn't seem like a lot of other teams are in on him, and it also feels like the Cubs are, from what's been told, essentially giving him away. And I've heard the Yankees have made tracks with Cody Bellinger. They've made phone calls on him. And basically the response that they've gotten from Cody Bellinger, from the Cubs, is they want the Yankees to eat some cash. I think in the end of the day, it'll come down to the Yankees eating cash. There's only 2 years left on the deal. Well, it's really 1 year with a team option. So odds are they're going to eat up some cash and get Cody Bellinger in here. I'm expecting to be a Yankee, honestly, at this point. It's either play first base or center field. It really depends contingently on what they do around the rest of the free agent market. You're really not going to know where these guys play as of yet. Around the other diamond of baseball news, the Padres apparently are looking to tear things down. So there could be some players on there that you want to be after. Tatis, I don't know if he's necessarily a guy they want to move, but Machado could be a deal they're looking to get rid of. Apparently a guy they are aggressively shopping is Xander Bogaerts. And when they gave him that deal a few years ago, it just felt crazy. It reeked of what it was. It was an older owner who wanted to win, who was handing out these massive contracts. And oh boy, did he ever. Because we all looked at that Xander Bogaerts contract when it happened and thought, what are they doing? And, now you look back at that contract now after it's been signed for a few years and you wonder, what were they doing? Because it makes absolutely no sense, that deal. I don't think I can't imagine a team being in on that contract. He's not the player that he signed that deal for. So that's going to be a really hard one for them to get themselves out of. Other players they're looking to ship, I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of guys they're looking to move on from. But apparently everyone's open for sale with the Padres. Crazy where that team has gone. It really is. We'll see what they wind up moving. I don't think Michael King's an option for them to get back. But, I'd explore it. I'd look at them. Apparently, Luis Arias is on the market too, which would be fascinating if you're the Yankees. Might be a guy on the lesser end you look for. Could be a guy that, like, you don't think of going into the offseason that the Yankees could be after Luis Arias, and then all of a sudden they make a trade for him, and you're like, it's a pretty good move. A guy that's won a couple batting titles in the last few years. The Padres are an enigma because they had no problem spending all this money. They didn't win. They've had some success, but to have all this money on the payroll and then need to freeload it and empty it in the next couple of years, really, really a weird thing. And then Nolan Arenado, lastly, did give out his 6-team list of the teams that he is willing to go to the St. Louis Cardinals. Yankees, unfortunately, aren't one of them, and that means the trade's likely not going to happen. The Yankees could make it work, but from all the things that you've seen in the news, the Yankees apparently aren't very interested in him, which is crazy to me, but I guess sometimes you got to trust the process. Now, I like Nolan Arenado as a player, and apparently he's willing to move to first base to help teams win. So not wanting to bring him on, apparently you'd have to eat a lot of the rest of that contract. Maybe the Yankees aren't interested in that. But really weird to me that Nolan Arenado could be a player that the Yankees are not willing to be in on. Because why not? Why not? You don't know what the price is until you ask. But Arenado did give out his 6-team list. It is the Angels, Dodgers, Padres, Phillies, Mets, or Red Sox. So a lot of those teams could wind up hurting the Yankees. Dodgers would be a crazy move if he wound up there. Would you be remotely surprised? Padres would be a weird move too. I don't know where he'd really play there. Maybe I guess he could fit into first base, but not a really likely destination if they're trying to empty out money. The Angels, I mean, sure, it fits them a lot, right? Aging player. They don't have a first baseman, so I guess you could put him at first base. Aging player, big contract, doesn't really, probably will age poorly. Great deal for the Angels. It's all over what the Angels do all the time. And he's not a pitcher. We know they don't sign those guys. The Phillies would be an interesting move. I guess you could put him at first base. It would be a fascinating move. It really would. You got Harper there. Did you want to move Harper back to the outfield? Would you want to move Bohm off of third? If the Phillies can make it work, he'd be a crazy fit in the middle of their lineup. The Mets would be devastating. That's a team that I definitely could see bringing in Arenado and be willing, maybe include a trade with Brett Beatty, but be willing to eat that salary. And then the Red Sox obviously is the worst case scenario for the New York Yankees. They can't afford that. Another piece of offense in the middle of that Red Sox lineup. You want to keep them as pitcher friendly as possible. The Red Sox already have a good pitching staff. You don't want to make it easier for them to go out there and win games this season, especially by adding that level of offense and Nolan Arenado to that team. Guys, coming up next, we're going to discuss the Alex Bregman news. It seems that the Yankees are very much locked to him as well. So we're going to get into that and much more on the other side. I love going to sporting events. Obviously, it's pretty much all I do. I go to concerts, sporting events, all of it. And I get all those tickets on Game Time. It's the best place to get tickets to any event you want to go to. You can get the best seats possible. You can check out your seats prior to going. You can look at an array of options of where you want to sit in the arena for basketball, concerts, hockey, baseball, football, anything you can imagine. It's all available on Game Time. Game Time gets you the best tickets for every live event, and they make it in a system that's never been easier. They got a few new features called Game Time Picks, which does all the hard work for you. Instead of searching through thousands of tickets, Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and shows you the absolute best deals on great seats. And if that wasn't enough, they've got an all-in pricing feature now. Just toggle it on and it shows you the full price up front with no surprises at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back, guys. We want to discuss the biggest rumor that was going on. It really came in right before I was going to go on, right before I was going to record towards the end of the Knicks and Ranger game from last night. The Yankees apparently are very heavily linked to Alex Bregman. And I find this very interesting. They can make it work. And I think if you get freed, you sign Bregman and you trade for Bellinger, I think it's a great offseason. Maybe get one more bullpen piece. I think it's a tremendous offseason. I really do. Especially if you're able to move on from Marcus Stroman. Alex Bregman already turned down a 6-year, $156 million offer from Houston. That's $26 million per year AAV. Houston's already said the max they'll ever give out on a contract is 6 years. I don't know why Jim Crane makes that public knowledge, and I especially don't know why he would make that rule. Now, yes, are there bad contracts out there? Sure. And I guess, is he trying to be above it all? Maybe. But at the end of the day, again, like I said earlier in the show, you have to give out these bigger contracts and you have to give out longer term deals. And you have to be willing to get into bed with these guys, making these big time, mistake deals and accident deals in order to get them to stay with you long term. Otherwise, they're not going to stay with you and you're not going to keep guys around. And it might happen with Alex Bregman, looking like it is. Because you can either offer him, I don't think the $26 million is very far off from where he's going to want to sign. Now, if you offer him 30, potentially, but I think 28 is probably the number that gets him to stay with you. It's probably the years. And Alex Bregman's a player that's had production over the years. He's been a really, really solid player, was a top tier pick in the draft. Back when he got drafted, he's been a part of the Astros World Series teams. So you look at everything that Alex Bregman's been a part of in the league. He's got a lot of experience the Yankees are, looking for. Last year hit 260 with 26 homers and 75 RBIs, but look at the years prior, right? A little bit of a down year for him last year. Prior to that, though, look at all the years, look at all the things that he's done in this league. 2023, 98 RBIs, 262 batting average. 2022, 259 batting average, 93 RBIs. Every year he's pretty much towards the top tier in the league. 2019, he had 112 RBIs. 2018, 103. Upper 200s. Has his average declined over the years? Absolutely. But it's still a player I think you have to give a run at. He's an elite level fielder. He's a guy that, could be a potential part of your lineup for a really long time going forward. Plus, he's not on the he's not on the older end of things. He's only 30 years old. So do you want to give out a 7-year deal? Maybe that's what it takes to get him in here. But again, like I said earlier, these are the kind of deals you have to give out. And if the Yankees win 2 World Series and acquire Alex Bregman, they're not going to care about his aging years being on the roster. Apparently, they're very interested. They're willing to give more years than Houston. Maybe they're willing to give a little more dollars. You acquire him, Cody Bellinger, and make a Marcus Stroman trade, which kind of clears up those salaries a lot. You could really make this work, and those are great additions to really revamp this lineup a lot. You just got to be patient with the market. That's the last piece of advice that I want to give you, all the fans that are watching. You have to let things develop. You have to see what other teams are willing to give players, because every deal prior is what sets the market for the next deals that are going to be sent. That's what, these guys that sign these massive deals, that's what they claim their motivation always is, right? They're always motivated to get these massive deals, get the most money possible, get the most benefits in their contract, because it sets it up for the next superstar. Now, I didn't love that analogy with the Juan Soto contract, because who is the next guy that's going to get 15 years, $700 million? Who's the next player? Because Bobby Witt Jr. is locked up long-term. And, Vlad's going to be a free agent next year. Everyone expects the Blue Jays to offer him a massive deal, but Vlad's going to get $300 million. Maybe he gets up to $4 million. Vlad's not getting $7 million. We know that. So who's the next player that's going to be a free agent at 25 years old that's going to command that kind of salary? That guy's not around right now. So I don't really think it's necessarily a great example comparing it to the Juan Soto contract, but to other contracts around the league. You have to let the market play out and see what guys are getting and see what the market determines they deserve. What if there's been plenty of off seasons over the last few years where nobody signs, where baseball's off season is boring, no one moves. And, this year so far, God willing, we've had a really, really good off season. You've seen money move. You've seen guys sign. You've seen guys sign earlier, and you've seen a lot of money be spent, as opposed to other years where guys aren't getting the deals they want. A lot of money's not being spent. A lot of guys aren't, moving really quickly because they're not getting the deals they want being offered to them. This is a year where guys are getting a lot of what they want, and guys are getting big time deals, and they're getting pretty much everything they ask for in the free agent market. If that's what's going to happen out there, then you have to, and you're in win now mode and you want to go sign these guys, you have to be in business with them. You have to be willing to give out longer term deals. You have to be given higher salaries in order to get them to sign, because there's no use in being in on a player if you're not planning on getting out those deals, if you're not planning on competing. And listen, you can sit there and say, I'm only giving Alex Bregman a 7-year deal or a 6-year deal. That's max. I won't go any higher. You can sit there and say that. But when the Boston Red Sox, they're probably not on him, but, just as an example, when they come around and say, well, we want Alex Bregman, we'll go 8 years. What do? If you're not willing to go that 8th year, then why were you in the negotiation to begin with? You have to know and get a feel of what these teams are going to be offering, of what the price tag is going to be, and what the year mark is going to be. If you can be involved in those talks, and you can, if you're going to go in deep with those conversations and you're going to be one of the teams that are going after these players, you have to be willing to go after those kind of contracts. I think Alex Bregman's a good move. His average has declined over the last couple of years, but not to the point where I'd be that concerned. The production is still always there. Has he taken advantage of the Crawford boxes? Probably. But solid fielder, solid player, a lot more than they've had at third base in the last couple of years. I don't think there's a lot of, it is not a lot of damage that would be done in an Alex Bregman type trade. Plus, I don't think signing, I don't think he ages poorly either. His style of play doesn't seem to age too poorly either. I mean, grade it for me in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And you can reach out to me on social media. My X handle is below. They moves this offseason, include another bullpen arm on top of Loaisiga, who they signed earlier today. If the moves include a Cody Bellinger trade, getting Marcus Stroman's salary out of here. Obviously, the signings they've already made. Maybe shoring up the outfield a little bit. And getting Alex Bregman. You like that? If it includes Kyle Tucker in a trade, Max Fried, Alex Bregman, and Cody Bellinger. That a solid offseason for you, Yankee fans? I think so. I'd appreciate that. I think it's a decent pivot from Juan Soto. Especially compared to the money you were planning on spending. Got to put your money where your mouth is now. Juan Soto was one player. You can get 4 or 5 really good players for the price of one Juan Soto. So thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, you can find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor, fun, and baseball. Keeps you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. It's key to be involved in that right now more than ever because we are in the heat of it, especially. It almost seems like baseball's offseason sometimes is more fun than the regular season, as crazy as that sounds. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Brian McKeon. We will see you guys tomorrow.